to episode 5 of Doublethink Film Speak. Today we're going to talk about Annihilation.
Oh shit. Annihilated.
Yep.
Yeah.
We were both super pumped for this movie. So.
Yeah. It was, I'm going to be real, it's the only movie I was excited to see this year, especially the only major release I was excited to see this year, you know.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be other stuff that we just haven't even seen for yet, but this one...
like Lady Bird came out. I didn't know dick about that movie, but it turned out to be dope.
Yeah.
All this and that. But oh god, I mean, we saw the ads for this probably in Star Wars, right? I think that's when they started running the trailer
somewhere around
in the theaters, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
yeah,
it was ridiculously good, obscenely good.
It lived up to everything I hoped it would be. Easily
film of the year so far. It's only February, but dude.
I'd be surprised if something beats this for me. I would be shocked. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, the only other thing that could even compete right now is Solo, you know.
I don't even think that movie has a chance to compete with this.
Yeah, but you're not as excited for that movie as I am, so
fair enough.
You know, so you know that's a different conversation. We'll review that movie when it comes to it. Anyway,
yeah,
this movie was it's one of the few films I saw it and it's like it's everything I wanted it to be and more, you know. When you see a movie and you're like, this is going to be great, this is going to be what, and then it becomes what you want it to be, that's cool. But if it doesn't expand on that, it's kind of disappointing, you know. That's my fault for putting the onus on it, but nonetheless, when you can meet my expectations and then exceed them, that's a whole different story.
Right. Watching the trailers, I had thought of so many ways the movie was going to go, and it still surprised me in so many ways.
Oh my god. I mean, I'm just looking at an overview right now. I don't even know where to begin, man.
Yeah.
I mean, what I really want to talk about, because I think this is going to be ignored in a lot of reviews, or not ignored, but not talked about as much as I think it should be. The music, man. Let's just start there. I think, and I was thinking about this throughout the whole film, the way the soundtrack was, you know, there's a lot of these like acoustic, like folk rock songs, and then there's like weird ambient score.
The ambient music was so well done.
Right. But I want to talk. Go ahead.
Half the time, it's obviously music, but it fits what's happening on screen so well. You're almost like, does this sound like actually happening?
Right. Yeah. Oh,
in their world too.
Right.
It's so, because it's so eerie.
It gives you a head game, which is crazy. Well, I really want to talk about the juxtaposition of that, you know, because if you're not into indie music, you know, you wouldn't know about this, but there's a genre called freak folk, and it's basically like it's music, folk music, you know, acoustic guitar, poetic lyrics, this and that, but then it sounds fucking weird. There's these weird digital, analog, like ambient sounds, you know, like a lot of bands like Animal Collective and this and that played around that. That's what this movie said to me with the music. And that's what the movie was like. It's kind of a weird dichotomy where like the environments in this movie, it's all nature based, you know?
Right.
It's all nature, but then it's fucking weird and digital and like human, like artificial. You understand what I'm saying? Right. And that's, you know, the juxtaposition with freak folk and then this movie, like it just totally matched up for me, and that's what it feels like to me. Sure. I mean, if you haven't heard of the music, you don't know what I'm talking about, but I think it's important to note.
Yeah. Well, and especially as the movie went on, I feel like they kept raising the max volume of the music.
Yes. Oh my god.
The end scene, when the music is going,
stupid.
Well, I was sitting there thinking about it, and I'm like, I don't know if I have ever heard any sounds in a movie this loud in the theater.
Well, and it was
so loud, and like they do that with like IMAX and all stuff, you know, stuff like that. But this, just for a regular movie, in just a
justifiably
regular
loud. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of these IMAX movies, like they're loud just to give you the feeling like, whoa, these speakers are nice, you know, the bass is this and that, but
yeah,
the sound in this movie, completely justified.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There were like I could hear almost a crack in the speakers. You know, it sounded like the sound was peaking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was completely necessary.
Right.
Because what this movie dealt with a lot was like refracting and fractals and like if you've ever dealt with fractals, like there's this app I have where it's called Fraxel or whatever, but basically the shapes, you can mess with shapes and they mirror each other, and then it's like it looks like fractals. You know what I'm talking about. If you don't, then look it up. But as that goes on, it can become uniform and everything looks the same, and that's a common idea with fractals and like the fractal universe, which is a really psychedelic idea. If you ever messed around with the Fractals app, if you mess with it too much, if the shapes reflect and mirror each other too much, it becomes completely gray and uniform. And that's what the sound does. The score matches the theme of mirroring each other. You understand what I'm saying?
Sure. Yeah.
You know, I think you could build off that more visually. You know, I understand it in music, but
yeah. Well, the entire theme and how they worked it into the art of the film of self-reflection,
right,
self-destruction, just reflection in general.
Right. Stupid.
So
ridiculous.
Well,
ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, well, I don't know if you noticed, this is just kind of a random side note, I guess, but I can't remember the chick's name. It was the one black chick without the glasses. It was the chick that was the girl that first approached Natalie Portman when she was at the base,
right, and
introduced her to her friend group and this and that.
Yeah,
she had a tattoo of an infinity symbol on her arm. That showed up on Natalie Portman, and she kind of noticed it throughout when she was being interviewed in the movie. Right. I noticed that. I was like, "Yo, that's crazy," because in this movie, if you really pay attention, you can see the way these when they go into the shimmer, everything reflects itself. You know, it's, if you know anything about fractals and like that idea, it's just, it all matches up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and something I noticed right away in the first couple of scenes was they had already set up the reflection and like the wall just in the normal shots.
Right.
And immediately, because obviously you see the wall in the trailer, so you kind of understand.
You get it.
It's some kind of like weird
right
effect or whatever. But as soon as she is sitting across the table from her husband and they touch hands behind the water glass.
Oh my goodness.
And the fingers like just formed into like one set of fingers.
Right.
It was already like reflecting what the wall does.
Yeah.
And then they did it at one other point. Very early in the film, showed like a reflection, and I was like, yo.
Yeah. Well, even, I mean, there's just, we really can't list every single time that the environment within the shimmer reflects the people within it. You know, there are too many examples of it.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's even like when they went through that, it wasn't a neighborhood, but there were houses in there. You know, they went to the military base, and then after that they went to like, it was like a few houses, and there was some like playgrounds and this and that.
Yeah.
Like, if you notice, the first house they go into where they end up staying the night looks exactly like Natalie Portman's house earlier.
Right.
You know, so the attention to detail is really noteworthy. Not really, extremely noteworthy.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because when you're playing around with ideas like this, you can't cut corners.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you're dealing with something this complicated and this complex and this strange, you got to know what the hell you're doing. You got to pay attention to detail.
It has to be well planned.
Yeah.
Well planned in detail.
You know what I mean? It's got to be completely mapped out.
Yeah. Well, especially when you have shots where they're watching a videotape.
Right.
You have to work that in there. So you have to know the sequence of events down to every detail so you can get them all right.
Yeah.
Which, just going off the videotapes real fast, everything in this movie, artistically, stellar. The sets,
ridiculous. Well, the shots, man. Every single time they set up a shot, I'm like, I never saw it bad. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Every shot, it was effective and it had something to say. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, in a lot of movies, there are shots that are like artistic and have a theme or an idea going for it. And then some shots are just effective, just a way to tell the story. Every shot in here, I feel like, was artistic, did bring an idea to the table while also being effective at storytelling.
Which, this being the same guy that directed Ex Machina, kind of expected that to be similar.
Yeah.
Because that movie was also the same way. I mean, it didn't have the environment shots like this one does.
Yeah.
So it was a little less so because it all took place in a house. But,
right. But even still.
But it was kind of exciting to have him be able to...
Yeah, well, it's interesting to see him use a very minimal table, you know, just use a few things, use a few tools with Ex Machina, and then in this movie, like, just to see him play around, just to, you know, really go crazy. Mm-hmm. It was, and obviously, he and Oscar Isaacs are pretty good friends. Thank God, because Oscar Isaacs is the fucking best.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was in this movie until I saw it. I think I was, like, vaguely aware. I was like, oh, shit.
He was in the first trailer. They didn't show him as much in the other trailers, if at all. But
well, I mean, let's be real. I only recognize him as Poe now anyway. But, well, and of course, he did a killer job.
Natalie Portman, straight up, murdered it.
Well, let's take a step back. Everyone killed it. Let's be real.
Sure.
Everyone killed it. You know?
Oh, especially when they're all tied to the chair. All of them killed it in that scene.
Oh, yeah. Well,
crazy.
That scene was... It was gnarly.
Well, it was just... That was one of those scenes that I haven't really felt in a movie since 10 Cloverfield Lane.
The tension.
The tension, you're just like,
right.
This is...
Well, you don't expect it. You don't expect one of their crew to take everyone hostage. Well, not hostage, but you understand. Well, I guess it would be hostage.
Well, even when she knocks Natalie Portman out, I was like, oh, she's just going to knock her out.
Yeah.
And then it goes to the scene and
they're all tied up.
Out. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Shit, she is not doing well.
Yeah. Well, and you know, they really touch on the idea of self-destruction. Yeah. Which is super, super important throughout the film. Like, the way these people... I like the fact that they... When you have a lot of movies like this, where they're like, oh, this is a suicide mission, blah, 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 and then they portray the character as brave. That's not the way this went. These characters were not brave. They had nothing to lose. You know what I mean? Right. And when you talk about a suicide mission, that's more what it's about. I mean, yeah, it can take brave people.
Not even they had nothing to lose. Like Natalie Portman says when she's being interviewed, they all basically went in there to die. Not even that they didn't have anything to lose. They were just kind of...
They barely even wanted to make it out.
Yeah, it was the end.
And whatever her name is, the psychologist, I mean, she was kind of the leader. Whatever her name is. She got to the lighthouse before anyone, right? Yeah. And, like, it didn't show or explain what happened to her, but it seems pretty clear to me that once she got to the lighthouse, she went down the hole where the meteor or whatever the hell got to Earth. Yeah. She went through that hole and she gave herself. You know, she gave herself to the alien object. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. You know? Right. Because they were talking about that she had cancer. She literally didn't have anything to lose. She probably didn't even want to make it out, you know?
No, she didn't want to make it out. She was going to die in there. Yeah. She just wanted to see what was in the lighthouse.
Right. Well, and I like movies like this with complicated characters that you can't explain to yourself quickly. You know, if you're confused with the characters, that's a good thing, I think, in general. Yeah. You know, I mean, obviously sometimes that's just because the characters do convoluted and some other bullshit, but this movie really justifies their complication.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, and even when they're on the boat and the one girl is explaining to Natalie Portman's character all about the everyone's problems and like why they went in, and then seeing how later that reflected in all of their deaths kind of was wild.
Exactly.
Like when the physicist, when those plants started growing out of the cuts that she had made in her arm.
Well,
it's fantastic.
Well, and the way she just gave herself to it, like there was no anger, there's no fear. She was just like, you know what? If I be, here's what I liked about it. A lot of movies display the unknown as from a place of fear, because when you don't know something, you are afraid of it. That's just kind of a rule of being a human being,
right?
And that's fine. But this movie really made it ambivalent. It was like, yeah, it's scary and bad things can happen, but great things can happen. You know, it was even earlier when when Natalie Portman was being interviewed, or not interviewed, but asked questions about what the hell went on in there. She was like, it was dreamlike, and they're like, so like nightmares? Like, not really. It was like a dream. Some things were beautiful, some things were horrifying.
Right.
And that's what was really powerful about it. The enemy, the antagonist, the entire time, it was kind of the Shimmer, but not really, because the Shimmer didn't have a motive. They're like, what did, they even asked, what did it want? It didn't seem to want at all. It doesn't understand that. It just existed. It just acted. We don't really understand the idea of no motive, because nothing on Earth exists like that.
Yeah, it basically existed to change.
Right.
And experiment and just grow and just alter everything around it. Not with even necessarily malicious or necessarily good intent.
No.
It just did.
Exactly. And that's...
Well, and that's what the movie did well, especially artistically. The shots that were beautiful, you felt the awe that the characters would feel seeing those shots.
Right.
So well designed, so beautiful. And then the scary scenes where the creatures came in and all that stuff, you felt the tension. It perfectly made what the characters would be feeling.
Yeah.
In such a real way.
It truly was one of those edge of your seat movies. I don't get that a lot. I'll go out on a limb. I've seen a lot of shit, man.
Yeah.
But this movie really kept me like, I didn't know what to expect. I really didn't. And here's another thing is, this is going to sound weird, but it's the most psychedelic movie I've ever seen. You understand what I'm saying? Well, even throughout the entire movie, when they're in the Shimmer, when they're in the forest or whatever, all the lights are like rainbow. They're reflected in a rainbow way. That's a lot of attention to detail to do that,
Yeah.
So, you really got to give him credit for that. The attention, I think really the attention to detail was one of the top parts of this movie.
Right. Well, and when they first started with the flashbacks and then the flash forwards,
right,
I was like,
it's going
to get really weird.
It was getting muddy.
Justify itself,
right,
for doing that,
right.
But it helped the narrative more than I expected it to.
Yeah,
and I actually really dug it.
Yeah,
especially towards the end.
Well, and I will, when it comes to a sci-fi movie, one with aliens, I will give a lot of credit to the ones that think outside the box. Movies like Arrival,
sure,
where the aliens are completely beyond what we would consider. I've seen enough alien movies where they're like humanoid. They're humanoid beings. Like, that's fine, but I just feel like it's not very imaginative. Because if there's aliens out there, they're probably not going to be much like us.
Yeah. Right.
To think that intelligent life forms only exist in humanoid form is a little closed-minded. So whenever
it's either closed-minded or 100% accurate, and there's like 3 other planets that have the exact circumstances that we have, and that's it.
And it is very difficult to think of something non-humanoid, non-Earth-like, you know? It's difficult to think of something like that. So when you can pull that off, like, major points in my book.
Especially because the problem always is, movies try to do that. They're like, this alien experiences a new dimension.
Right.
We don't know what a new dimension even feels like to represent in an artistic way. Like, it's
completely beyond
so
us.
hard.
Yeah.
So to do it in this way,
something else,
where it's
something
really not
fucking
coming
else,
up with an idea that's too out there. So well done.
To stay on Earth while being completely off, like out of this world, that's something else.
Yeah.
You know, very few people can achieve that. And like, I really like a movie that's narrative heavy, because if your narrative is heavy, your narrative better be pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
But I feel like this movie had the perfect balance.
Well,
of exemplifying an interesting world and an interesting idea while telling a great story.
And what really hit me was it's a sci-fi movie. The goal was to find out what the Shimmer was, what its origin was, what was happening, right?
Yeah.
What, in my opinion, the real plot twist or the huge thing actually had nothing to do with the Shimmer.
Right.
When you found out that she was cheating on her husband.
Dude.
I was like,
what?
No way. This is the crazy part of the film?
Well, and because...
Wow.
Well, because the entire movie, they're talking about self-destruction. Oh, you know, each character had...
She seems like the innocent one.
Yeah, exactly.
Like she's...
Oh, she's the outlier. Right.
It. Yeah.
That's not the case. They all had fucking problems. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. They all had a reason to go in there.
Yeah.
You know, because even when they were like... even when she first went in, they're like, oh, the reason that she has a reason to, quote-unquote, self-destruct or, you know, have nothing to lose is because her husband's dying or close to dead because he had already gone in the Shimmer.
Right.
And I'm like, I get it, but that still didn't completely add up.
Right.
But now, you know, because even if her husband had survived and like everything went all right, she still fucking cheated on him. You know? And that was exemplified in the later scenes and explained why his behavior was the way it was. It seemed pretty clear that her husband knew about the affair. That's why he was like so cold to her when he first left. He's like, I'm flying out a day early. Peace. Basically, he just left.
But that also goes back to the reflection aspect. The way you go into the Shimmer is what happens to you in the Shimmer.
Yes.
Everybody went in there to die.
Right.
Or because they didn't care about something and they were lost.
Right.
Except for Natalie Portman. That's why she made it back out completely intact.
Right. Mostly intact.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and you know what? I'll say as soon as she got to the lighthouse, I knew it, man. I was like, the Oscar Isaacs that made it out is not whatever his name was in the film. You know, it's not the same guy. It is the alien.
Is it though?
Yeah.
I don't think it is.
It totally is.
No.
All right.
Hear me out.
I'll walk with you.
The alien was destroyed.
Right.
We saw it catch fire. It burned it all down. That's the only reason the Shimmer went away.
Well, because
the only thing that makes sense is if you kill the original being, that's the only way to end the Shimmer. So if he was the alien, why would the Shimmer go away? Here's what I think happened. Because they kept doing this cell splitting.
Well, it repeats itself. It becomes...
So basically, it broke off, and he is the alien, but not enough of the alien to be like the origination of a Shimmer. Well, I don't think. But it left it open, so maybe.
Exactly. Well, and I mean, it's one of those movies. It leaves the ending ambiguous, so you can...
Right.
it can be open to interpretation. But well, like towards the end, the alien catches fire, and so the shimmer catches fire.
Right.
It becomes what it is, and obviously, the lighthouse and the being within it. That's the central point. When they start at the beginning of the shimmer, their form slowly starts to become part of the environment. Their groups form their personalities, they're this and that. But as they go deeper, it becomes more involved. Their personality, their being becomes more distinct in the way that the nature around it exists.
Right.
It really is around the central of the lighthouse.
Yeah. The White House?
The White House, yeah.
Nice.
Might as well be, let's be real.
Sure.
Anyway, but, so I think that's really important to know. I thought, at first I thought that their environment was mirroring them because they were spending more time there. But now that I think about it, I think it's because they were going deeper into it.
Sure.
Closer to the lighthouse.
Right.
And the more that, and the being controls the entire shimmer. So whatever closest to it, that's what's going to repeat throughout the environment. You understand what I'm saying?
Sure.
I mean, it's confusing and it's heavy, but you got what I mean.
Yeah. Well, and just to go back to when the alien is lit on fire, I still don't understand it.
What do you mean?
Because here's what I don't understand, right?
All right.
It can combine and alter everything that comes into the shimmer.
Sure.
Fire is still based in reality, in carbon, in cells, in all that. Why would the fire affect it at all?
Well, okay, now
Wouldn't it just absorb the fire, like alter the fire?
No, well,
because that was one part where I was just.
Well, no.
But then I thought about it more, and I'm like, maybe I only think that because I'm seeing the effect it has on the environment,
right?
Whereas the actual being it originated from is not some invincible thing that can alter.
Well, here's a couple things. Well, first thing you gotta get straight is that the being is completely ambivalent. It just repeats and refracts and recreates whatever is around it. It doesn't matter what it is. You can call it damaging. You can call it whatever you want. Because fire is like inherently, we think that as damaging. We think of it as a destructor.
Sure.
But to the being, it doesn't care. It doesn't have. It doesn't detect that sort of thing.
So you think it just like replicated the fire because it didn't know it was fire?
Well, and here's the thing.
But that's my point.
Now listen to me. Listen to me. Hold on. One other point is that fire burns oxygen. Everything it was recreating around it was vegetation, which uses oxygen. I understand that they're breathing carbon dioxide and then give out oxygen, but the rest of the living beings, our planet is pretty oxygen based. I know we're carbon based life forms, but it's oxygen based. You get what I'm saying? So the fire, it can catch on anything because it's all, most life around here is centered around oxygen. You get what I'm saying?
Sure.
So I think that's kind of the thing. And fire is a very overwhelming force. If you were to call it a life form, it's probably the most effective life form possible because it completely envelops and destroys whatever it touches. It can really burn anything for the most part.
Yes, but that's what I mean. Only in a human sense.
Not in just a human sense, I don't think.
Because this was just a completely different being, and it's like, well...
Yeah, but the being took on the form of nature. And
yeah,
let me tell you something. Nature catches the fuck on fire. And, I don't know.
But then
I just think that fire is an overwhelming force.
But I guess at the same time, well, there's two things. Number one, the alien clearly doesn't have a sense of self-preservation. It just changes what's around it.
Yeah.
Number two, though, even if it did have some kind of thing of self-preservation, maybe that lends credence to the fact that Oscar Isaac is just a duplicate form of it.
Right.
So it almost didn't care if it burned.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's just completely neutral.
Because then it still survives. I don't know.
It just becomes whatever is around it. Fire is the closest thing to it.
It does, but also at the same time, when it either turned into or was the psychologist in the pit,
Yeah.
she talks about annihilation.
Yeah.
So clearly there's some kind of goal, or why would the meteor even land on Earth?
Well, I think it depends how you define goal. Do you find, well, because goal means that a goal is something you decide on. You decide, this is the thing I'm going for, thus I go for it. Whereas this being just goes. It's very hard to use your human brain to not understand, or to try to understand when something doesn't want.
But I'm not even saying that specifically. I'm saying the meteor came from somewhere.
Yeah.
So even if the alien didn't have a goal, someone had to have had a goal.
No.
Why would the meteor just shoot
Random
to a
chance.
planet?
I think it's completely random chance. It just, this being just exists, and it just so happened that it ended up on Earth and consume things around it. You'd be like, wow, that's a lot of chance that you're playing with. I'm like, well, look at fucking life. That's a lot of chance you're playing with right there. If you want, you know what I mean?
Sure, that's fair.
So I think that's kind of the that's kind of where it goes with it. I don't know everything, man, but
Yeah,
that's what it said to me.
sure.
It just became whatever it is around it. That happened to be fire. So everything else and it was the most central to the being. The fire was, so
Right.
thus everything around it caught fire. Now I'll admit it was a little bit of an easy ending.
Well, the movie was so good, it didn't really bother me. I just thought about it for a second. I was like, that's just weird. Why can it alter everything around it of any chemical makeup, and then fire is the thing that can destroy it?
Well, I don't think fire did destroy it. I think it just became fire.
Yeah. Well, that's what I said.
Yeah.
It just had fire, didn't know fire was bad, just replicated the fire until everything was gone.
Well, because it doesn't have goals. It doesn't think, oh, I shouldn't take form. This is just like,
Right.
that's the way it is. Yeah, and that, that's just the way it is. Everything it takes form of, it's around all these things that burn. Forestry burns. People, pretty much every living thing burns.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, that's fair. It just seemed a little weird to me at the time.
Yeah, that's fair.
But
I can understand that.
Yeah. I mean, it makes more sense now.
Yeah.
I guess, that I've thought about it a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, this is a movie you're going to think about, man. You're going to think about it for a while. I mean, I remember stepping out. I'm just like, whoa, I need to sit down.
Yeah, I haven't
plays with your head, dude.
I haven't been that
perplexed,
like, into a movie since 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Really great movie. Go see it.
I almost, you just forget you're even watching a movie. You're so invested in what's happening.
Sure.
It's been a while since I've been that into a movie.
It's a little out there, but this movie really is an experience.
Sure.
I know I said that. I say that about most good movies I like.
Every
but
movie's an experience.
Shocker. Really? Is that why you go see movies? Yeah,
No.
It is. No, me either. But this one really, I mean, it's a trip, dude. Straight up. This is a trippy, psychedelic movie. I think a lot of people are going to be kind of weirded out because it's like almost...
Well, I'm going to say it right now. Some people are just not going to get it.
No.
It's just not going to be their type of movie, and that's fine. Whatever.
Oh, yeah. That's fine.
But,
I get it.
Yeah.
It's pretty out there, man, especially for blockbuster.
Well, even the guy
flick.
sitting next to us, when the movie ended, he was like, man, that was a trip.
It was a trip.
Like, yep, But I just thought it was kind of funny.
I didn't hear him say that, but yeah.
He turned to his wife and was like, man, that was a trip.
It was.
Yep, it certainly was.
In his defense, it was a fucking trip, man.
Yeah.
And Well, the whole idea of refracting is such a psychedelic idea. You know, if you read reports of people who have had psychedelic experiences, they all talk about fractals and refracting the way that, you know, there's an idea of the fractal universe that things just refract on and on and on until they become uniform. You know, it's like the idea of heat death. You know, all these atoms are just going to keep going, and there's going to be so much, you know, energy is going to overpower mass, and the earth or the universe could become uniform because it's so hot and it's become a soup. You understand what I'm saying? Sure. It's like the early universe. If you know anything about the Big Bang, when it first started, everything was super hot, super uniform. It took forever for things to cool down and atoms to form and this and that. And I feel like this really reflects that. That's the idea of fractals.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This movie goes a lot deeper than people think. You can take it really fucking deep. I haven't seen a movie you could do this with since like Donnie Darko. Mm-hmm. You know, you can really play around with this.
Yeah. It really,
you know,
goes deep.
Yeah, because
into existence.
I mean, I don't know. Well, and it just plays into my theory of the universe, which is that the universe is going to keep expanding and keep refracting into a heat death scenario where everything becomes uniform because it's so hot, and then that becomes the chemical soup that is the Big Bang of the next universe.
Sure.
Which is refracting. You know, fractals are an interesting idea, and to see someone play around with it and do it so well. You know, because I see a lot of people talking about fractals on the internet, and it just becomes like a stoner psychedelic thing, and it kind of loses all its credence. It becomes lazy. It becomes, I don't know, just...
Well, people just stop realizing that it's based in these complicated math problems.
Yes. Shit completely beyond my comprehension, for sure. You know, I'm just like, playing around with this.
Cool. And it's like, yeah, but you don't even begin to know how these things are actually created.
Right. Exactly.
But, you know.
Yeah. It's a mind fuck of a movie, man.
Yeah.
And I mean, I really think I could just go on and on about how good it is. The dialogue, you know, even when they're one of the first scenes where Natalie Portman and Oscar Isaacs are sitting in bed talking about how he's to go on another mission, this and that. They're fucking around. He's like, we'll be looking at the same stars. She's like, that's the cheesiest shit I've ever heard. That's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's what, you know, that's the real world.
Yeah.
No one's into that shit. No one really says, we'll be looking at the same stars. That doesn't fucking happen, man.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just, well, the dialogue was solid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Didn't add too much. Didn't add too little.
Well, and even some of the scenes where it was just a quick little bit between all the ladies or whatever.
That's fine.
It worked, but yeah, there was never a point where I was like, man, that was a bad line. No, that was weird.
Never happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, to go back to the idea of fractals, like the way that they were so creative with it, like the way that creepy bear thing was using human voices.
Well, hang on.
Okay.
We just got to go through a list of some scenes here and why they were phenomenal.
All right.
First of all,
start.
In the trailers, they show the girl get sucked in
right
to that one building at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Didn't think that was going to be at the beginning of the movie.
Nope.
I thought that was going to be one of the focus moments.
Right.
And they were teasing it. No. It was like one of the first things to happen to them when they got in there.
Yeah.
But then, as soon as they saw that the alligator had like shark teeth and all that.
Right. Well, it became worth their time. It wasn't just like cheap suspense.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, they added on to it. They added on to the idea. If you can take a moment of suspense and a captivating moment of action and use it to expand on the story and the narrative and the universe, you know, that's quite the feat, man. Especially in a movie. You know, there's a lot of tools you're playing with.
Right.
And just to completely run with that, you can't beat it.
Yeah. Well, and so then the next scene with the bear thing was so terrifyingly good.
Oh my god! When it showed it from the one chick's perspective, like, man,
yeah,
Had to take a huge breather, dude.
Well, and that was because the crocodile looked
It was
just
creepy.
a mutated crocodile. But this thing, the fact that it had like half of its flesh missing was so... That was where everything hit me, where it's like inside of this, the life, death, that kind of shit, like, doesn't mean
Right.
anything anymore.
Yeah.
Because all the DNA is just combined.
Yeah.
The dead flesh,
Right.
the living flesh.
It's
all
uniform.
that shit. It's just, yeah.
It's all
So
the
to
same.
see this, like, zombie fucking bear thing, and then, because it had eaten the one girl, that scream was one of the most terrifying things I think I've ever seen in a fucking movie.
Well, because
What the fuck?
well, because humans, you know, we're scared of a lot of things, but the thing we're most scared of is the unknown.
Right.
And then to take the unknown and make it slightly known with a human voice, it's like horrifying. You know, it's like why clowns are so creepy.
Right.
Like
Well,
you don't know because when you see someone, when you see pretty much any living being, you look at its face, you try to understand its body language, like subconsciously, it's beyond you. You try to understand what's going on by just its body language, the way its face look, especially something that's humanoid. That's why masks are so creepy, because you
Right.
don't know. You
Right.
That's your body's response to being like, dude, I don't know what the hell is going on,
Right.
because I can't recognize any facial patterns because it's wearing a mask. It doesn't have any reflections. That's why we don't like clowns and shit, because they look
Well-
happy and you can't trust that.
One, it's just when you look at something that is being two things at once and you can't decide which one it is,
Right. So you can't decide
you
how to
look at a clown
respond.
and you're like, it's got a painted on smile,
Right.
but he's not smiling.
Yeah.
What does this mean? And there is a absolutely terrifying beast that's hunting, making the sound of something running away, something afraid.
Yeah.
Which
Exactly.
is just fucking creepy.
Yeah. The dichotomy of that
I just didn't expect it.
is something else. Well, and it's just like whenever, if you think of a creepy face, usually the face is smiling, but it looks like it has ill intentions.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And that's creepier. You know, if something looks angry and scary, that's more reassuring somehow, because you're like, I know your intentions. Your intention is to do harm, do damage, be aggressive,
right.
you know, be harmful.
Everybody has dealt with an angry person, and it's easier to deal with.
or
You get it.
any angry living thing, you know.
Sure.
When a dog snarls, it doesn't look happy.
Right.
But when
You know how to react to it.
yeah,
immediately.
exactly. You know, and that's the way that's the way you exist in the world.
Yeah.
It's just it's shocking to see, to say the least.
Also, when it ripped her jaw off, I was like, yo, this
Yo.
movie's also really
Raw.
violent.
Yeah.
It does not give a fuck.
And that's so important. You get really annoyed with movies that have a lot of violence, but it's not that brutal. I'm like, dude, if you get attacked by a bear, that shit does not look good, you know?
Well-
it's gonna look fucking gnarly. That's life, man. So if you're gonna play around with violence like that, especially brutal violence, you better be ready to show something gruesome.
Right. Well, and on top of that, the movie is rated R.
Right.
It didn't have to be, and the studio could have made a play to get it to a bigger audience with a PG-13 rating.
Fuck that.
But they were like, "Oh, we got the R rating.
Run with it.
Like it deserved the R
Yeah.
rating." You know,
The same for kids, man.
because I've seen R movies where I'm just.
Yeah.
It's like they wasted it. I'm like, you could have cut like one
Well-
or two things out that weren't even that bad, and it would have been PG-13. I don't even know why you bothered.
Well, and that's the thing
If you're
about
gonna get R, commit to it.
well, here's
Do as much as you can within them.
well, and usually
Those are always the best films.
well, there's that. But an R-rated movie, you know, usually it's like, oh, these themes are too strong for younger people, and
Right.
usually you associate that with violence, sex, language, this and that.
Even then, I feel like nobody pushes it with violence that much.
Well, there's
mostly R-rated movies involve
it's basically sex. Yeah. But this movie is not for kids, and I think most kids could really handle the violence, but I don't think they could handle the themes. I think this is really over most kids' heads. I mean, hell, it's over my head. Really,
Sure.
I mean, I feel like I understand. I understood the most of it, but I
disagree about the violence. I'm like, yeah.
Other than the bear scene, I think they were fine.
No. The other scene that was really fucked up.
What?
When Oscar Isaac is cutting into that dude's stomach.
That's pretty gnarly. Yeah, that's fair. All right, fair
gnarly.
enough. Yeah.
I've seen scenes like that in TV shows, movies, a million times where it's like, oh, this person, like, their arm's infected and you gotta chop it off, or, oh, they're torturing this person so they chop off his finger. But they always, like, do shots where they just show the reaction on the face instead of the violence.
And then you see some blood splatter on the wall, you move on. Right.
They kind of pussyfoot around it.
Right.
But this one was, no, you're gonna watch him cut this guy's entire stomach open, and then you're gonna witness what's behind the skin.
Yeah.
As he
you have to
fades out to death.
And that's where I feel like a lot of movies miss it. I'm like, when you're violent, you shouldn't be violent just to be violent. You should be proving a damn point.
Right.
You should be going somewhere with it. Don't gross me out for no damn reason. I don't go to a movie just to be grossed out, man. I can do that on the internet. I can see some gross shit.
Sure.
You better have a damn good reason, right?
That, and also the best part about that scene is it led to the best scene and the best art I've ever seen, I think, in a movie. The guy and what he became in the pool.
Oh my God.
Might be the most beautifully terrifying thing and one of the best artistically designed scenes ever.
Sure.
You see his jaw, you see like his ribs and all this stuff, and yet you still
not where they're supposed to be.
But it's still got that kind of like beautiful factor to it, like it's like a collage, like a mural on your man. The colors, all this shit, it just looks cool. And then when they like zoomed in on it, I was like,
it's horrifying.
Man, that's a jaw.
Yep.
Oh, those are some ribs.
Well,
there's his torso.
It's like nature. Nature is really beautiful. It's on its own, but it's also horrifying and scary, and it will murder you. You know what I mean?
Right.
And when you look at it zoomed out, I'm like, that's natural. It feels natural.
Yeah.
And we really admire nature as human beings. But to see our own, to see something like you completely destroyed by nature, like that's a whole other thing. If you see someone get shot by another person, that's terrible. But you understand the evil of humans. You understand motives,
Sure.
But when nature just destroys something like that, and I guess this isn't technically nature because it was within the shimmer, and the shimmer is not from this world, but to see nature destroy something like that, it gets you.
Right. Well, because even like a gunshot to the head,
it's mostly clean,
Yeah, you look at it and you think, that was probably over fast. That guy, I'm like, I don't even want to know what that looked like.
Horrifying.
When he transformed into that. I don't even know.
Yeah. Well, you gotta wonder, is that what Josie, the girl who cut herself, when she walked off into nature, was her death like that? You don't know. They never show it.
It's true.
You gotta assume it's something like that when she had flowers and shit growing out of her cuts, and like obviously she seemed that she was okay with it. And here's the thing, I think that was the guy who got cut open. He was okay with it. That's why they talked to.
I think that's the difference.
Okay, go ahead.
It's a reflection of how you're feeling, and he was so far gone at that point, it probably was painful.
Yeah.
Whereas hers, she was so just ready for it,
Yeah.
it probably was not. Like, I feel like it even reflects in that,
Okay.
where one of them's just more intense and painful
Right.
because he's still, like, fighting to be alive.
Yeah.
She
You know,
was
it's one of those
just
things.
fine with it.
Don't resist it. Just let it ride.
Also, the fact that they didn't do a scene where Natalie Portman, like, watches her turn, that's fantastic.
Exactly.
She just walks in, and then she walks...
You know,
She follows her, and then just sees all... And it's like, where did she go?
Well, you saw how
don't even know
you saw how quickly she was turning, and you're just like...
Right.
You know, and then she was just gone. She became a part of it.
Yeah.
You know, I think... you know, there's an idea of transcendence throughout the movie, if you ask me. You know, the psychologist, when she finally got to the center of the shimmer, to the lighthouse, you know, she let herself become it and be a part of it.
Right.
So that was kind of transcendent. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You know, even Oscar Isaac said that when he killed himself. He was just like, I can't do this. I'm just going to become a part of it. I'm going to stop fighting it.
Which that scene was fucking insane.
It was a lot to take in.
Yeah. Well, and that's another scene where they could have kind of not showed it.
Yeah.
But they did the effects. They edited it in there.
Mm-hmm.
They show his burnt fucking skeleton just sitting there crisscross against the fucking
Which is
wall.
important.
It's just crazy.
Yeah.
One of the things I didn't get, why were all the bones laid out in front of the lighthouse? Because here's what I don't understand. Did Oscar Isaac do that? He had to have, right?
I kind of assumed, yeah.
Or someone did, at least.
Yeah.
Because, like, the alien wouldn't... It doesn't have ill intentions, so I don't know why it
Well, it doesn't have any intentions. It doesn't care.
Yeah.
It's not going to create things in a ceremonious way.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to. I assume that's what it was about.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's also weird. I'm like, did Oscar Isaac drag all the fucking dead bodies there, or did they all die there except for him?
Right.
You know, that I agree. That is one point, but they didn't cover. Now I don't know if they did that.
I mean,
too.
the shot was so cool. I was like, whatever. But
yeah, exactly. The shot looked cool, but
which, you know, I guess I'm different than a lot of people in that way,
right.
too. I see artistic shots sometimes, and I'm like, all right, the context, not really following you, but it looks so good that I don't.
Yeah, you can't get mad about it. Right,
I'll let it go.
Yeah, it's this movie. I don't know, it just gets to you in a way that it's one of the few movies that fucks with your reality. A lot of movies fuck with your emotions, and not that that's not, you know, worth speaking about, but it's just. It's not the same. You know, you can fuck with pretty much anyone's emotions. It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
But to fuck with your reality like this, it's not easy to do.
Yeah. Also, the scene where it turns into a fractal.
Beyond me.
So good.
Beyond me, dude. It's so good.
Like, when Natalie Portman's just awestruck, just staring at it, it did such a good job of making me feel like do the same thing. I was just, you just stare at it.
Well, it's one of those things. You don't feel, wow, this is amazing. You don't feel, oh my God, this is horrifying. You just feel. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you just watch it.
It's just observing. It's just experiencing.
Yeah.
And that's why, I don't know, this is one of the trippiest movies ever, man.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
You know, it's scary, but I mean, that's kind of part of it.
Yeah.
You know, you read any stories about someone who's had like major psychedelic experiences, they're like, it was horrifying, it was scary, but it was also awe-inspiring. And that's what this movie spoke. You know what I mean?
Sure. I don't like comparing it to psychedelic experiences, though.
Why not?
Because
Do you think it cheapens it?
Yeah.
That's fair.
Because, and I feel this way about a lot of those kinds of drugs,
Right.
especially the better known psychedelics.
Right.
If you go into doing a psychedelic, wanting to have a psychedelic experience, like your brain can kind of fill in the gaps. It can do a pretty good job of that.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm just like, I don't think it's the same thing.
Well, yeah, that's fair, I guess.
You know, I'm like, I wouldn't even call it psychedelic. It's just something else. I don't know.
I mean, that's what I mean by the fact that it's trippy.
Sure.
Because when you think of trippy, you're like, that's something else.
Right.
You know, trippy, there's not a lot of synonyms.
Yeah.
You know, it's...
Basically, I guess my point is, someone who comes out of a psychedelic experience, a lot of the time can't describe in depth what happened. And I'm like, did anything in depth actually happen then?
Right.
Whereas this movie, I'm like, there is stuff going on.
Yeah.
It's not like you're just staring at a pretty kaleidoscope picture that feels really trippy, and then you come out of it and you feel like something else happened, but it really didn't. It was just like a kaleidoscope.
Right.
Oh man, that was weird.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I get what you're saying, but...
I mean, I haven't done psychedelics. I'm not going to, but it just... I don't feel like it's a good comparison.
Okay.
It just seems weird.
Well, it's just... I just think it's reflective of it. Mostly, okay, basically just the fact that, you know, all this movie talked about was like refracting and fractals and this and that.
Sure.
And whenever you read anything about psychedelics, that's all they talk about. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's just the, you know, parallel ideas that I think
but even then,
reflective.
Like we were saying,
well, and
fractals have kind of been ruined by the...
Whoa, man, fractals
like
are so trippy, man.
Yeah, it's
right.
like... No, it's like...
Well, I guess...
It's actually, like, complicated.
How about this? Here's
interesting.
Here's what I mean by psychedelic. Not that it's like a fucking like doing a drug or whatever, but it's like something that you can't explain. Something otherworldly.
Yeah.
Not just alien, but something otherworldly.
I guess my point is people have ruined the term psychedelic.
You know what? You're not wrong.
So
that's fair.
It just feels like a weird description.
Yeah.
But
I mean, let's be real. Some of the shots were pretty psychedelic, man.
Sure.
You know,
yeah,
they were pretty trippy.
Yeah,
they got pretty out there. But yeah. I mean, I'm saying that as a good thing, not as a pejorative.
Yeah, right.
You know, it was well, and I actually here. How about this? It's not even really psychedelic. It's surreal. How about that?
Sure.
You know, it was like the entire movie. I'm like, man, this is surreal. This is out of here.
Yeah.
You know, even when you talk about aliens, it's beyond aliens.
Yeah.
You know, I can understand aliens. That's easy because we have such a concrete idea of these big-headed gray creatures.
And that's what's funny about it too. Is it's like even calling that creature an alien seems weird.
It doesn't seem
alien
fair.
Is such like a stigmatized. Like everybody, as soon as you say alien, people automatically start pulling up pictures in their
Here we go
of all these other aliens. I'm like, this is really not like any of those things you've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's different.
I would call it an otherworldly being, and I know what you're going to say. That's just an alien. Well, you're right. But there's a connotation to otherworldly being because this thing looks otherworldly. It doesn't look alien. It looks otherworldly.
Right.
And there's a difference.
Yeah.
If you ask me, but...
Yep.
Well, it's just a completely different type of being. It doesn't have wants, desires. It's not even really interested in... I mean, it kind of reproduces, but, you know, it just... changes. It doesn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It merges.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
Point is, fantastic movie. Plays with a lot of ideas that a lot of other movies won't even touch, won't even think about.
Now, one gripe.
Here we go.
Here we go. Don't even care about because the movie, like, it's really not a big deal, but it did stand out to me when it happened. When they're at the watchtower, there's literally no logical reason why you would send someone to watch the fucking watchtower in some wooden thing on the ground. That doesn't make any sense.
Wait, what do you mean?
They're all sleeping in the watchtower, and they do like a rotation to like stay on the ground in that wooden thing.
The wooden thing?
Where the bear takes the girl.
Oh, the house?
Huh?
The house?
No.
Oh.
Watchtower, where they're all sleeping.
Oh, like the military camp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes no sense for anyone to watch in the wood thing. It doesn't make any sense.
I think it's just
If
because
you're in the watchtower and you want to have someone stay awake to keep guard, that's fine. But that person gets to fucking stand on the watchtower.
Yeah.
So, what? It just bugged me a lot.
I guess.
I don't feel like any rational person would have done that. Would have been like, hey, we're clearly dealing with some fucked up shit. So, the person that should watch guard, go all alone, literally 50 feet down and 100 feet away. It's like, what? No. You don't do that.
I guess. I don't know.
When things can come at you from every direction, no, you stay in the fucking watchtower where things can come at you from one direction.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. I don't know. I feel like, well, Natalie Portman was the only one who was in the military, and she was too... First of all, the entire movie, she was too polite.
But I don't feel like that's a military thing. I feel like that's just kind of a common sense thing.
No. What I'm saying is that I feel like she would have taken control of this. If she would have taken control of the situation, that would have been like, she's like, get the fucking watchtower, man. Don't.
Sure.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, the entire movie, I feel like, I'm like, you are like, the psychologist is the leader, but I'm like, she shouldn't be. She doesn't know what the hell she's doing.
Well, then as soon as you find out that she basically went into there
She
to
just
die,
went to
you're like,
die.
oh, that's why she doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
She's trying to get to the watchtower, but she doesn't really care about anybody else.
Lighthouse.
Huh?
Lighthouse.
What did I say?
Watchtower.
Oh.
It's an important distinction, because when you first said watchtower, I thought you were talking about the lighthouse. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? That never happened.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I don't know. That was one gripe I had when Natalie Portman's like, yeah, we should go to the the lighthouse, because then you can follow the shoreline and get out. I'm like, that's completely logical. And then when it goes back to the interview, they're like, oh, so you lied to them. I'm like, and she's like, yeah, I did. I don't know. I thought it was kind of dumb. I was like, you could have been like, no, I wanted to go to the lighthouse because that would be the easiest way to get back. You understand what I'm saying?
But at the same time,
Like, I thought her causes were totally noble. She was just like, yeah, we're not going to walk through the forest, that took us a week to get out here, and then some, God knows how long we've actually been out here, and then try to navigate our way back when we didn't even really understand how we got here. It makes more sense to follow the shoreline. That's the logical move to me. So I was like, up until then, I'm like, she's not, Natalie Portman's not on either side of the go back or go to the lighthouse. I'm like, she's just being logical. But then they're like, oh no, she just totally wanted to be selfish and go to the lighthouse, and she lied to them.
Yeah.
I just thought that was kind of ridiculous.
I felt like that was actually rational, especially on her part, because it's like, hey, if you girls were gonna run at the first sign of anything major happening when nobody had come back alive for fucking years, why'd you go in?
Yeah.
And Natalie Portman was kind of like, no, you committed to this. Fuck you, I ain't going back. And you're not going back either because there's safety in numbers.
Well, there is that.
I think that's really what it was.
Okay. Well, the way I looked at it, I mean, maybe this is just my fault.
She was just like, for pure survival's sake, we all need to stick together.
Well, there is that. Yeah,
So
I
I'm not
agree with
sending
that.
two of you to go back and then two of us are going on.
Yeah, it's stupid.
Fuck that.
Well, see that at that moment, I just feel like I don't know. I think that's just like less of there's a problem with the movie and just more like I was putting myself in this situation. I would just be like, no. The easiest, like the most logical way to go back is to follow the coastline, so you know where the hell you are. Walking through a random forest, like you're not gonna know where the fuck you are. I don't care how much you know what you're talking about. They woke up and they're like, oh yeah, we had set up camp. And do you remember that? No, none of us either. We remember the hell we got in here or how far we are. Like, so obviously you don't know where you are. You would just be going that way, and you can't follow a compass because that shit doesn't fly in the shimmer. You know what I mean? There is no way for them to just walk through the forest and get back. Sorry. They do not know well enough how...
Well, they got to the lighthouse.
Yeah.
So clearly they have to have some kind of working compass or something.
I think they just followed the map. Well, they talked about that.
But it changes everything inside, so it's like... I mean, yeah, once you get to the military base, you obviously know you're kind of on the right track. But past that, it's like, it's all up in the air, man. There's nothing... Like they said, most of it's just swampland. What? It's not mapped.
Huh? Yeah, well, it is.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not.
Well, whatever name...
It's changed so much, you have no idea.
Yeah, I guess, but...
You know, hey, once you get to this big group of trees next to this lake, you take a left. It's like, no, that thing looks completely different now.
Well...
All the houses are sunken and there's crocodiles all over the place. I don't know.
Well,
none of this looks
the way the psychologist explained it. She was like, "Look, because the one chick was like, we can't use a compass. You know, the compass doesn't fucking work." And like, she's like, "Oh, well, we should go." I think she said we should go south to get to the lighthouse. That's how we get there, and then we can follow the coastline back. And they're like, "Well, the compass doesn't work." And she's like, "Well, you look at the sun, and then it's." I forget how she explained it because I don't know fucking directions, but if you look at the sun and then you point your watch to it, you can find out cardinal directions. And I feel like that's how they...
Once again, when the thing refracts stuff, I'm like, that doesn't make any sense.
I feel like the sun escapes that.
Maybe.
That was my impression. The sun escapes the well, I mean, the light doesn't, but the sun itself, the way it goes up and down, they have a normal nighttime cycle. You understand what I'm saying? Day and night cycle.
Sure.
So I think you can use the sun to direct yourself.
Sure.
So that's why I was like, well, use the sun to direct yourself. You got yourself to the lighthouse. Now follow the coast all the way back.
Sure.
I don't know. That was just a logic thing that escaped me. I didn't really feel one way or the other about it. I'm like, that's just how I would have done it.
Yeah.
You know?
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just a nitpick anyway.
Yeah.
But the point is, I guess my problem was I was trying to make Natalie Portman a more noble character. More, I'm just trying to be logical, trying to get us back.
Which at that point, sure, because you still think she is.
That's true. Which changes,
and then you find out she's not.
Yeah, and that she kind of did go in there to die because she's like, yeah, I'm worried about my husband, but also I cheated on him anyway. So if
she didn't go in there to die. She went in there to get justice for him because she felt bad.
Okay, well,
she felt guilty.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess that's the difference. Whatever.
Yeah. That's fair.
The point is, good flick.
So good, I gotta go see it again.
Oh yeah, we're gonna go check this out again. Yeah. It's a trip, man.
Yeah. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. Sometimes it looked a little too good. And I was like, this looks fake. But I'm like, no, I just think it looks really good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's the other thing. There was obviously going to be parts where it was CG, and obviously going to be parts where it was an actual set design.
Right.
Couldn't tell you where that stopped and ended.
Nope.
Not a clue.
Nope.
So well blended,
all the sun shafts were fractals, all the vegetation was different.
Right? I'm like, some of that vegetation had to be hand placed.
It had to be.
And then other of it had to be CG.
Yeah.
But yep. I'm sure that there was a variety of combinations.
Right.
And I couldn't even begin to tell you because they were so well done.
That shit's way beyond me.
No idea.
But great.
Fantastic looking.
Yeah. Anyway, point is, go see it. That's it.
Yep, that's it.
It's that simple. Go see the damn movie.
There is nothing more important in theaters right now. And there probably won't be for a little while at least. Go see this movie.
Go see it. Yeah. If you give a damn about movies, if you give a damn about the progression of cinema, go see it.
Right.
Give them all your damn money.
Yep.
Tell Hollywood this is what we want.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right on.
Because if this ends up being a Blade Runner 2049, I'm just gonna be really disappointed.
Yeah. People didn't get it.
People didn't get it.
But that's a different podcast.
Well, but I mean, that movie did have problems in that it was a sequel.
Yeah.
And it told everybody it was a sequel. And it's like, well, that does hurt.
I mean, I get
like, I don't want to go watch the original one. Like, I get that. But also, you should.
And also, you didn't need to. I mean, I feel like you really could have seen.
I don't feel like people spread that around enough, though.
No, they didn't.
That you didn't need to see the first one for that.
No, I agree with that. But I'm just saying you didn't. Anyway, Once
This
again,
one, it
speaks
don't
for
need
itself.
to- don't need to see another movie. It's great.
Solid 2-hour flick. Can't beat it.
Yep.
Right on. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
That wraps.
that does it there, man.
Yeah.
Go see Annihilation.
Yes.
Later.